With the 2022 NBA draft coming up alongside the NBA draft lottery, a ton of people like to look at mock drafts and the upcoming draft prospects to come along with them. One of the players who we will be talking about today isn't projected to be in the first round, but his skills and his talent will be viewed as underrated if a team decides to draft him, and that player is Jae'sean. And today we're going to talk about why he's going to be surprising a lot of people in the future, his movesets, and his talent moving forward. Before we get into the video, I'd appreciate if you guys drop a like, subscribe to the channel. We got an NBA draft prospect here, talking about him and breaking down his game. We're going to start pumping out more of these videos, especially for the Rockets, because, we got the playoffs coming pretty soon. And after that, the NBA draft lottery and then the draft. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see all these draft prospects, and we're going to be talking about them in the near future. But we got Jae'sean today, so let's get into it. So if you didn't know who he was, Jae'sean, he's a 6'11", 199-pound forward out of China and was regarded as the best prospect out of China since Yao Ming. That's some pretty high praise for someone that is only 19 years old and will hopefully be drafted in this year's draft. He's projected to be in the second round, and I was looking at some articles before recording this. They ranked him 20th at the small forward position in the draft, which is pretty interesting, because with his skill set and what I've been able to watch, I don't think the 20th ranked is good for him. I think he could be maybe a top 10, top 15. His skill sets are pretty interesting, and we're going to break it down right now. Jae'sean is currently playing in the G League Ignite alongside players such as Jaden Hardy, Marjon Beauchamp, and Scoot Henderson. Beauchamp and Jaden Hardy both being projected in the first round this year, and Scoot Henderson being in the draft next year. And Jae'sean, he's a very quick and agile player who has the ability to be bouncy at times. His ability to dunk the ball is definitely one of the best I've seen from an Asian player, especially. His athleticism for someone that's 6'11" and 199 pounds is pretty interesting. His ability to be pretty agile at that position is pretty amazing too, because at 6'11" you shouldn't even be that fast. So he's a combo forward that can play both the power forward and the small forward position, but at times he plays like a guard, which is actually pretty interesting. If you look at some clips, I'll have some clips of him in the G League right now. I'll probably get copyright strike, but you guys can see some clips of him playing right now. His strengths are running in transition and his ability to dunk the ball, like I said. Shooting and having the ability to block shots are also a huge plus side for him. His shooting ability is pretty interesting. His form looks pretty clean. His shot blocking ability is probably his best selling point of his game. His ability to block the shots, interior presence right there, being 6'11", obviously. But his athleticism is also a huge bonus since his body frame is fairly small. You can see in these clips he isn't all that muscular, and his body frame is pretty small. So if he can bulk up in the offseason, then I would be all for that, kind of like Christian Wood. I'm not trying to make all these Rockets references, but they fit perfectly with what I'm trying to say. And, comparing it to Christian Wood, he does need to bulk up. Overall, his tools on both ends of the floor can really help him become a great player in this league. I think, at best, Jae'sean could definitely be a role player off the bench. There's just no way that in today's NBA he will be able to start with his body frame and his strength. It just kind of doesn't make any sense. He could maybe on a rebuilding team, but, moving forward, I think he could be a bench piece at best. Nothing more. I mean, he could be a 10 and 11 guy maybe off the bench, 10 and 5. Nothing too crazy right there, but he can go off if he wants to. And his last game with the G League Ignite, I think he had like 17 points, which is a career high. So his shot blocking ability and athleticism, like I said in the beginning of the video, are two of his best strong suits. I don't know. He could be a pretty interesting player if he develops his three-point shot, his overall offense. He still is a project. To me, he's still a project player. Something that's going to take a long time to develop, but with the right system and the right coaches, he could develop into something pretty interesting. His skill set is very vast and can be regarded as pretty underrated because he isn't even projected to go in the first round. Now, with this type of talent in the second round, that is pretty interesting. We got a lot of second-round talents in the NBA right now. Malcolm Brogdon, Nikola Jokic, to name a few. But with Jae'sean, I think he could become like a KJ Martin type of player on the Rockets. Another Rockets reference, but it's pretty much possible that he could become like that. Pretty athletic finisher right there, someone that can shoot the ball sometimes, and I think that's actually a pretty good comparison. KJ, they aren't the same size and the same height, obviously, but their skill sets are pretty much the same. Three-point shooting isn't all that there. Same thing with being able to finish, well, not finish around them, but his offensive ability. Their finishing abilities are kind of the same, but yeah, overall, I think he could become kind of like a KJ Martin player, someone that's going to play his role pretty well in this league. And although he has his fair share of positives, it is worth noting that he also has some glaring negatives. Jae'sean isn't a consistent shooter at all and struggles to drive through contact, with his small body frame and basically no strength at all. His strength is also worth noting as he is a forward and lacks the necessary strength to, survive in today's game. You do really need strength at the forward positions, especially, looking at like LeBron, KD, Giannis, all those forwards right there have strength, and comparing him with Van Zhang, there's just no way he's going to survive. So he needs to bulk up a lot more in the offseason, get that muscle mass right there. And if he does, he could compare at least to bench players that are forwards. So, other than that, Zhang reminds me of Jae'sean of the Houston Rockets, where Knicks was horrible with the G League Ignite in his rookie year, but then working his way with the Rio Grande Vipers next season, and then landed a deal with the Houston Rockets. And I think Zhang has the potential to become the same. He has the potential to become a great player. The only thing that's going to set him back is if he isn't able to learn all of his weaknesses and isn't able to gain that muscle mass. And overall, his height is a God-given gift, and his ability to shot block the ball. So Fan Zhang can be viewed as a project, as teams will not really know what they're getting out of him. It makes sense because Zhang, I think, is a pretty raw prospect, kind of like Usman Garuba. The only real thing we do know we're getting out of him is his shot blocking ability, which is a huge upside, but offensive ability and his ability to overall get into the game is pretty questionable. He didn't have too many minutes with the G League Ignite. If we're looking at minutes played per game, he actually averaged around 13 minutes, so pretty small sample size right there. If a team does decide to draft him, maybe he gets some time, but in his rookie season, probably not. He has a lot to prove, and in my opinion, I think he could become a great role player in the league and could possibly thrive in a situation that lets him thrive. The Rockets are definitely a no-go with Steven Salas. There's just no way. He would be pretty interesting, I'm not going to lie. Fan Zhang on the Rockets would be very interesting. I just don't see it happening with Steven Salas there moving forward. So the Magic and the Thunder would be both great destinations. The Magic do need some forwards. The Thunder, same as well. They do need some height for both situations, but also like Detroit and the Pacers would be pretty cool too. The Pacers especially, they do need some height, with TJ Warren being on the way out on his last year of his deal. He's going to become a free agent. So if they can get some forwards in the draft, Keegan Murray, AJ Griffin, I'm not too sure who they're going to be able to draft. The Pacers do land within the top three, Paolo Banchero, Jabari, Chet, even at best. I'm not too sure. They also have a second round pick, so if they are looking for some forwards in the second round, Fan Zhang could be a good look. But overall, I think Zhang would be a good, reliable option off the bench for some team that does need a forward. And moving forward, I think he's going to be in the G League for a little bit, but if he does prove to the league that he can play, maybe dropping like 20 and 10 in the G League, hopefully, then I think he could be a good player and could get a contract in the next season. So that's my take on Fan Zhang. Let me guys know what you guys think about him, and I'm out. Peace.